Michael Mattsson. I'm a tech marketing engineer with Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Today, I'm going to talk about a solution for VMware vSphere with Tanzu and HPE Alletra dHCI. But let me talk a little bit about the partnership between HPE and VMware. Did you know that we have partnered for over 2 decades now? And together, we build on the power of our combined expertise to deliver a complete portfolio of joint solution orchestrated to work as one in your multi-cloud environment. Faster application deployment for both enterprise and cloud-native apps, which we're going to talk about today. Streamlined and cost-efficient operations made possible through strong automation. Deployment flexibility with support for either on-premises or as a managed service. Certified, pre-configured, and easy-to-order turnkey solutions. The main topic for today is Kubernetes. And I want to look at the State of Kubernetes report from 2022, where VMware have asked 776 qualified respondents to the State of Kubernetes report, where almost all respondents recognize clear benefits from Kubernetes. And that means that we need to do something about this, right? We need to address the challenges and come up with solutions to build powerful infrastructure stacks to deploy containerized applications. I also have a blog post I want to promote that is available on community.hpe.com, where we talked about VMware, Tanzu, Kubernetes, and HPE Alletra dHCI, and how we combine all these technologies and what some of the driving market forces behind this effort. Another piece of information that is very interesting to look at in the State of Kubernetes report is the different deployment paradigms for Kubernetes. And you look at the different bands in this particular slide, you will see that there's almost like equally important that how you deploy and manage Kubernetes, right? So either you're on-prem or running single cloud only, multi-cloud, or hybrid multi-cloud even, where you have Kubernetes on-prem and in multiple public clouds, is equally important, right? And that means that wherever your app and it needs to run, we will need to provide a solution to allow you to manage it efficiently, both in your private cloud and in the public cloud. The solution that I want to highlight today addresses the edge, hybrid multi-cloud, and hybrid single cloud and on-prem only deployment paradigms, because that means that you need to manage your compute, network, and storage resources in an efficient way and abstract that up to Kubernetes to make sure that Kubernetes can provision, scale, and manage both the cluster and the applications themselves. The key to this story is the automation that HPE has built around the compute, network, and storage components, where we will allow you to deploy and scale this entire solution from a single pane of glass, and on top of that, deploy Kubernetes. Some of the challenges that you need to address when deploying Kubernetes is that you need to understand the type of application that you deploy on Kubernetes, what kind of data it needs to store, if it's ephemeral or stateful, and you need to address the exponential data growth to be able to scale the storage according to the performance envelope you're trying to encapsulate, and you ultimately want to give your users the powers to improve the business outcomes through the use of this technology, reducing the time to value by using cloud-native patterns. And another important aspect here is that you will basically give control back to your organization to prevent the shadow IT and own the control points to deploy these Kubernetes clusters, because it's very easy to start to deploy Kubernetes in the public cloud. You swipe your credit card and you're up and running. And the end user and the DevOps users, they expect the same type of experience on-prem. So that's important in the sense that you get data governance and ownership back to your enterprise and cloud-native apps running on your private cloud. The typical vSphere environment looks something like this. You have a compute layer where you will lay down ESX, and you will have a storage layer where you will provision your data stores or your vVols. And you need to have some type of networking to ensure that we have a high-speed interconnect between the storage and the compute layer. The addition to the integration between vSphere and storage is that we have a VASA provider that allows the vSphere admin to define storage policies through the SPBM interface. And that means that you can consume storage from the HPE Alletra dHCI array either through VMFS data stores or vVol data stores. The dHCI software that runs on the array itself will allow you to install the entire infrastructure stack from a single pane of glass. It's a very simple few steps wizard that will configure the compute layer, lay down ESX, make sure that the network is wired correctly, and set up the VASA provider and the connection manager and all that minutia that usually takes a lot of manual steps and a multi-day kind of effort to stand up. dHCI, you will be able to have up and running, ready to deploy apps within hours. The vSphere admin normally manages this entire domain because nobody hires a dedicated storage admin or dedicated network admin. The vSphere admin controls this entire footprint. The SPBM framework will allow the vSphere admin to define very powerful HPE storage policy options for the HPE Alletra dHCI array. It allows you to set application policy depending on what performance envelope you're looking for. Allow you to configure data reduction like dedupe and compression and the provisioning type, thin and thick, etc. And you can also define your protection schedules to meet your SLA and SLOs from a backup and disaster recovery perspective. Other bells and whistles, including data at rest encryption, is in there as well. So you really have the power at your fingertips to define this for your vSphere connected disks. But the topic of today is VMware Tanzu, and this allows the vSphere admin to deploy Tanzu clusters on top of vSphere by a simple right-click in vCenter, and you will deploy a cluster. An important aspect from this, from a persistent storage perspective, is that you assign a storage policy to that particular cluster, and then a storage class is present already when you stand up your cluster, right? Because most enterprise applications, why this is important now, why I talk about it, is that most enterprise applications that are being transformed are stateful. Many cloud-native applications, the most popular cloud-native application, carry some sort of state. So the storage piece is very important that we iron out. The DevOps user or the application deployment manager or whoever are interested in deploying applications on top of your Kubernetes cluster, they use their standard tooling like kubectl and Helm and define the persistent volume claims within that domain that will in turn provision a persistent volume that is backed by a first-class disk on top of vSphere. And that means that the storage constructs from an infrastructure perspective looks exactly the same if it's a virtual machine or a container running on top of Kubernetes. And that allows you to use the exact same tooling that you've been using either from a vSphere admin or from a DevOps user perspective. You have a single pane of glass to manage this entire infrastructure stack all the way up to the application with standard tooling. We also wrote a white paper recently titled VMware vSphere with Tanzu and HPE Alletra dHCI. It's available on hpe.com. Please download that to learn more on how you would deploy this entire stack, soup to nuts, in a matter of hours. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.